Welcome back, PetaPixel viewers. It's Chris Niccolls here, and we're going to go enjoy the Calgary Farmers Market because I got a fun camera to play with here. This is the Lomography Instant Wide Glass lens version. You got to be careful because there's many different versions, and this is the highest end one. It's got the sharpest lens, it's got nice manual controls, and I can't wait to play with it. So we did a video earlier in the year where we played with the Fujifilm Instax Wide 400, and it was a nice camera, but a very basic camera. No manual controls, plastic lens, very simplistic design. I had a lot of fun, but I was still saying, like, I wish the lens was sharper, I wish I had some manual control, and I wish I had some other creative effects. And that's where this comes in, because the Lomography Instax Wide with the glass lens should give me all of those things. So the first thing that I notice about this, it's a big camera. I mean, any Instax wide format camera is going to be physically quite large, but this is bulky, and not just that, it's heavy too. This is just over 900 grams. I mean, that's, you know, just under half a knock. That's the weight of a pro mirrorless body, and you definitely feel it when you're walking around with it. So this is going to use a very similar setup for focusing like a lot of the Fujifilm cameras use. You have this zone focusing system where you just turn the lens. I've got 0 to 0.3 meters for close-up, and then I've got 0.6 meters for like a tight portrait, and then I've got my sort of regular 1 to 2 meter sort of full body portrait, and then all the way to infinity. And so that zone focusing you definitely want to set to make sure your photos are in focus. So on the outside of the camera here, the shutter mechanism itself is raised off the body. It's very easy to find without looking, and actually you have to push fairly well to make it go, so you're not going to accidentally fire anything like that. I also like there's a PC sync port here for studio lights, and we've got a centered tripod thread on the bottom. Now, one of the things that really sets this camera apart from the Fujifilm 400 is you've got manual control. So I do have a +or-1 exposure compensation on here. So then at the bottom right of the camera, we've got our on-off switch here, and then we can engage our 4 shooting modes on this camera. So you've got an A setting, which is fully automatic, does everything for you. The flash will by default always want to be on in any of these modes, but I can simply push the button to turn it off or on again so it fires or doesn't fire. There is a B setting, which is a bulb setting. As long as I hold the shutter down, it stays open. Up to 30 seconds, you can do some fun like shutter drag effects. Then there's going to be an f/22 option. The lens here is normally f/8, but on the current version, you can also shoot f/22 as well for more depth of field. It'll also adjust the shutter speed accordingly. The last thing I want to say, I do understand why a lot of instant cameras are fully automatic, just to make things as simple as possible. But honestly, having these little controls on here, it's not that complicated. I think most people will be able to handle it no problem. And so I really do appreciate having the option, at least, of having some creative control here. And I could happily ignore all of it and just leave this on auto as well if I want to have a simple experience. So I think this is a real benefit that anybody can manage. So one of the things I complained about with the Fujifilm Instax Wide 400 was just how simplistic the camera was, and that it lacked a lot of creative control and a lot of creative accessories. It did come with a little close-up lens that you would also use for selfies, and that worked well, but there's no filter thread or any sort of manual exposure whatsoever. And this actually comes with a lot of really cool stuff. So the first thing I love, 52mm filter thread on the front of the lens. I'm definitely going to use that. I've got some black and white film, and I can't wait to use my classic colored filters to change contrast with that. You could also do fun stuff though, like put a hood on there to protect it from flare or other interesting creative filter effects as well. They also give you some really cool accessories. So there's this splitzer. It actually gives you the option to do multiple exposures and split the frame in half. That's really fun. So the lens cap's cool because it also has an infrared remote control triggering device. Just takes a little CR2025 battery and you can fire the camera remotely. And then the filters for the front of the flash, you get colored clip-on filters. They'll let you just have fun, colorful effects with the flash here. So I know that I'm getting low on film, and so what's really nice here is I got a film counter. I'm at 8 shots already. What I really appreciate, there's this little blue LED light in here, and that's awesome because in the dark I can still see how many shots I have. I think that's really thoughtful. I got my battery indicator here. If it's solid blue, I'm good to go, and if it's blinking, I'm in trouble. And this does use heavy but very available AA batteries. 4 of those powers the camera, and then you're set. We've done some shots, we've had some fun here at the farmers market, but I definitely want to go get more film, and we're going to continue this shortly. All right, so we threw some more film in there, we burned it off, we had a lot of fun. It's been a couple of days now, and what I enjoyed most actually was a lot of the goofy stuff. I mean, using the splitzer attachment stuff. It's really nice that Lomo includes all that stuff in the kit, but what I really wanted to find out, and why the test chart is here behind me, is this new glass lens sharper and meaningfully sharper than what you would get in something like the Fujifilm wide cameras with their plastic lenses? And as you can see here, I would say that yes, this is actually a decently sharp lens when you can get it in focus. And I mean, we are using the wider format Instax film, which has more detail than their mini stuff, which is great. This lens, when it's in focus, actually gives you quite a bit of detail. And that's probably one of the only challenges. I mean, you still have to make sure you hold the camera steady when taking shots, especially in lower light situations, or you'll get motion blur. And on top of that as well, anything where you focus by range, if you forget it, or you're just not quite within the range, or if you're on the cusp of where one range begins, another one starts, sometimes the image quality can look a little soft too. But overall, when conditions are met, I do feel like we're getting substantially more detail here than what we get on the Fujifilm. So where does this camera fit into the whole Instax Wide ecosystem? Well, I mean, again, we played with the Fujifilm Instax 400 Wide, and I like the camera. It's very simple to use, very straightforward. I like the design. It's got a nice look to it, but there's only so far that you can go with it. The lens isn't very sharp, and you don't have a lot of fun manual control or attachments that you can play with. So I do feel like even if you just go from the $150 roughly price of the Fujifilm up to a $200 price and get this camera with the plastic lens, you're still getting all of the cool stuff that makes this fun, like the easy to use manual exposure, be able to change your exposure up and down easily, be able to use the splitzer or change the color of your flash or screw filters in. These are all great things for 50 bucks. I think that's worth it. And if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, go up to $280 roughly, then you can get the same camera with the glass optic. And this is what I really wanted to see. I was skeptical if it was gonna make that much of a difference, but I do definitely see a difference in detail, and so that might be worth it to you. But you know what? In the end, for the time being, this is my favorite Instax Wide camera that I've used so far because it gives me that manual control so I can experiment and play. What I really hope we're going to see very shortly is a Fujifilm higher end version of their Instax Wide, something like we played with on the Mini 99, but in wide format, because I really did dig those internal LEDs and the colored effects. And if I could also then do things like advance multiple exposures, screw in filters, and have some manual overrides, that would make that a really fun camera. It wouldn't hurt if Fujifilm put a glass lens in that camera as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Hope you guys enjoyed this and it helps you decide if this is the right instant camera for you. You have a lot of expensive film to go through, but you have a lot of fun experimentation ahead of you as well. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Do check out the PetaPixel podcast. We'd appreciate that. This exact same channel or all your favorite podcasting apps. Definitely check out getting a PetaPixel Pro membership. This means that you can navigate petapixel.com without any sort of ads, and there's lots of cool benefits coming up in 2025 that you will enjoy exclusively as a member. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel.